And they made a big, since they were in a comfortable external position because they had capital control, as Diplo said, they decided to make a drive to grow more inside and to help to generating regional trade for the other Asian countries, which did something similar to a smaller degree. Everybody devalued a lot after the Asian triangle, all the other Asian countries did that. Accumulated reserves and did something more or less like this. Now, so this is, I think, the alternative that's already being done. I'm not questioning if something else could be done. Some countries decided not to do it. The Eastern European countries are doing the old stuff, speculative boom with overvaluation. Brazil is doing weird stuff, more or less a bit of that, but with a better social policy and fiscal policy that's compensating inflation. But that, I think, is what's going on. Now, the other thing I would like to mention, the second and last slide, is to incorporate not only some of my worries, but also all the contributions, especially of today. They were discussing longer-term trends and, more important, and some issues about the configuration of the world economy. Chandru, Filippo, and others. Now, there is the problem that, of course, in the short run, it's great that even Africa is getting both volume and some price effect of the high commodity prices, and many countries have been growing. Now, this cycle has been going on for a long time, longer than other periods, and this has convinced certain people, especially analysts of investment banks, that invest a lot in commodities, but but never mind. That this will last forever. There's a new super cycle that things change forever. Now, this analysis normally do not take into account what Prebisch, that I think used to teach here, and Arthur Lewis and Hans Singer used to say, because of course commodities grow a lot when the demand of countries that use a lot of commodities grow fast, but what is the supply side, the cost side? The analysis of the common element between Prebisch, Lewis, and Singer was that the unusual trend from the point of view of very long run, that agricultural prices, or more generally prices of goods exported by developing countries, tended to fall relative to developed countries, was strange because productivity growth was normally seen to be higher in the industrial sector or in the advanced sector than the agricultural sector. That would lead normally, in most economic theories, for the relative price to go to the other direction. Now, what did they say this did not happen? Was because these economies have very different labor markets. And the labor market in the developed countries, for a number of reasons connected with the bargaining power of workers and the evolution of the agriculture for feeding the population, which guaranteed high wage economy, not foreign trade, guaranteed that for a long period of time wages grew together with productivity there. And in the periphery, this was not true. They had either the limited supply of labor of Lewis or the low productivity of subsistence agriculture, the typical plantation economy where people eat mandioca and export sugarcane. There's a lot of technical progress in sugarcane, but none in mandioca, and they earn a very low mandioca wage. And any gains in the productivity of sugarcane goes to the low price of sugarcane. Now, what is happening in the 21st century? First, there are two things that may mean that this cycle, one thing that explains both the cycle being a little longer, and that the fact that even when it reverts, it doesn't revert to the same relative prices as before. And nobody discusses, right? Everybody discusses what's happening next week. One of them is connected to specific mineral exporting countries. That is a very important development. It's very connected with the left in Latin America. Is the return of natural resource nationalism. The one thing that Filippo mentioned, and it was mentioned before. Geology and planet Earth do not send market signals. The only agents that really worried about the future of natural resources are states and the political groups. And what happened is that a number of countries, so it's impossible to measure the geological effect of oil. I will not enter into this. What happens is that many sovereign countries as a reaction to excesses of neoliberalism in South America. You see many cases, Bolivia, now even Paraguay wants more money for the Itaipu Dam, because the river is half of them. Renegotiate the contract. And although, of course, this contract will fall a bit when prices go down, it's very unlikely that all this government will be kicked out so soon. So that creates a new absolute rate, that an appropriation of the rates becomes taxes. And the supply price of many of these materials will not go back. And this helps a little. We will fall relative to the extreme levels, but will tend not to go back. The other thing is more complicated, indirect. Why the cycle of commodities took so long to revert and is not even revert? Because in the 70s, when commodity prices went up, it caused so much inflation in the rich countries, because workers resisted the fall in their purchasing power, that it caused inflation way before the supply increased. Macroeconomic policy stopped the rise of commodity prices. Now, this time there's a consequence of something bad, which is that for a number of reasons, the bargaining power of the workers in the rich countries, partially a result of changes in the exports of China and other countries, they are not asking for wage increases. Incredible. Gasoline prices in the U.S. quadrupled and nothing happens, and maybe even a Republican will be elected. This is unheard of in the past. Now, because of that, not only the cycle lasts longer, but if you think in terms of the private single hypothesis, now if in the whole world has the same horrible labor market conditions, the sectors that have fastest productivity growth, the relative price falls. So, in terms of trade, if wages keep not falling productivity, even in the rich countries, will not revert to what they were before, because you have the end of the private single story from the supply side. Now, even then, the capacity to import of the so-called income terms of trade has been much better in countries like China or others, which is actually both the price plus the volume. It's because of the very high elasticity of demand for industrial and more sophisticated goods, even with worse terms of trade. The volume effect means that you get much more money for your development if you specialize in more sophisticated stuff, even with the prices going down. Now, and we see, like in the discussion of Argentina, there was mention of that even with the very competitive exchange rate, the import elasticity was going up. Of course, the Argentinians are getting more money, they want more sophisticated goods, they will not eat more beef, more beef, more beef. There's a point that the fifth particular is unbearable. But it's very good up to the third. Now, and then, so this doesn't change the fact that even without this complete reversal of the trend, it's not a good idea to continue that, and you have to follow the policies made that were discussed. Finally, this may be even worse than up to here. I still have some idea, but the news that Dick Lowe brought, that in China and other industrial exporting countries, workers are organizing more and making wages grow with productivity, is very good news for the working class of this country and of the world, and very bad news, if you remember your previous, in the very long run, for specializing commodities, because this means that now not North and South, but industrial exporters versus primary exporters will have the same old trend that Prebisch pointed out in this university many years ago.